A week from today, the Halo television series will be airing on Paramount Plus. The Halo franchise is probably one of the most genre-defining FPS games of the Gen 6 era consoles. Whereas older shooters like Doom and Wolfenstein had you collecting keys and looking for exits, Halo dropped you into a cinematic linear story where you fight alongside fellow Marines against a terrifying alien threat. Outside of the games, books further contextualize the series as a war of survival for the human race, with protagonist Master Chief as its center figure. This is something the games don't get super into, as they are more about the Halo rings and the Covenant's interest in them. In this video, I will be explaining what I feel is the core themes of the Halo franchise, and how, even though some basic lore is being shuffled around for this series, the that the show can still be palatable so long as they keep to these rooted elements. Halo takes place in the far future in the mid 23rd century. In the future, humans have been able to colonize other planets under one world government called the United Nations Space Command, or UNSC. UNSC is a highly militaristic government that, prior to the Covenant invasion, some people thought was too powerful. When the Covenant do reveal themselves to humanity, a campaign of a complete genocide, the UNSC is the only human organization that can fight back, even though then it's barely enough because the Covenant outnumber humanity and have more advanced technology. While people in the far future are still using bullet-based weapons, the Covenant are using energy weapons like those in Star Wars. In fact, humanity's only trump card in the war are their Mac cannons and the Spartan 2s, particularly Master Chief himself. Master Chief, from his debut in the games to the books, is a badass space marine version of Jesus Christ, in keeping with the religious themes and tones of the series as a whole. The theme music was designed to sound like monks chanting, and the word Halo is normally associated with biblical angels. Even the aliens Chief's fighting are part of a theocratic conglomerate of species known as the Covenant. The games and books don't really address Christian theology, but the references and tone are there. But why is Chief Jesus? Well, the core backstory of the character, explored in the book Fall of Reach by Eric Nyland, the first and probably the most important book in the series. Chief was abducted from his parents at age 7, along with hundreds of other children, for their genetics. Like Spartans of ancient Greece, the idea was to train these children from the early age, then augment their bodies with drugs and implants, the side effects of which made them all taller than the average human. The program was originally started for a possible conflict with government insurgency that opposed the UNSC, and the controversial and unethical nature of what was being done was kept top secret. When the Covenant began their war with humanity, the existence of the Spartans were made public to inspire hope in a hopeless war for survival, though not all details were disclosed, like the kidnappings or the fact that some children didn't survive. Among the Spartans, John Spartan 117, who would later be known as Master Chief, showed great promise and leadership. The project leader, Dr. Catherine Halsey, had always a great fascination with him, as if she knew there was something that made him different from the other Spartans. Eventually, others began to notice this as well, and Chief became almost a messianic figure for the UNC forces, and amongst the Covenant, they referred to him as a literal demon. The war between humanity and the Covenant is the main conflict of the early novels and the original games made by Bungie. Halo 3 is considered the end of that story, though 343 has been trying to make new games set after the war. What's going to make or break this show is the tone more so than lore accuracy, since we already know they're deviating from the lore to some extent, but hopefully not too much. In the show, humanity needs to be desperate and holding out for survival, while Chief needs to be regarded as their most valuable asset. If the show can't get that right, then I can't say the show is even based on Halo. One thing that's very clear from the trailers is that the Forerunners and their secrets are going to be a big part of this season. The Forerunners are an ancient alien race that built the Halo rings and are worshipped by the Covenant. The Halo rings and their secrets are very important to the first game's story. There's also another threat that'll probably come into play in the later seasons called the Flood, but unless the show survives like that long, we'll probably never see them. Just remember and be afraid of that name. Lastly, Master Chief and Cortana's relationship is going to be vital to the show's success since it's the core part of the games. The fact that she's being played by Jen Taylor like in the games gives me hope that maybe in season 2, when Arbiter hopefully comes into the story, that Keith David will be able to play Arbiter again. I'll talk more about that in another video, but getting into the relationship down is going to be key. Chief regards Cortana as a living person because besides her and the other Spartans, Chief really doesn't have that many friends. Captain Keyes, Miranda, and definitely Sergeant Johnson, and I guess Dr. Halsey as like a mother maybe. But that's about it. I'm sure the shows they're going to try to show Chief in a more relatable light, but the entire point is that he's been indoctrinated and trained to think only in combat. The idea of having any other life has never been really like crossed his mind. Anyway, that's all I have for now. But thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe, and look out for my review series as I watch the Halo show. I'll tell you like what I really think about it, and if it's any good or if they get it right. Talk to you later.